My wife texted me she was staying at another man's place. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. I opened our bank account instead. I stared at my phone screen for what felt like forever, even though the timestamp said only less than a minute had passed since her message came in. My thumb hovered over the keyboard as a cold, heavy weight settled in my chest. I'll be staying at Craig's tonight. Don't wait up. Craig, our neighbor 2 blocks over, the real estate developer with the luxury car and that too perfect smile. The guy who'd been coming to our cookouts for years, always bringing expensive wine and holding his compliments just a second too long. 10 years of marriage reduced to 11 careless words. I took a breath and typed back, okay. Just that. Nothing more. Then I turned off my phone, set it face down on my desk, and went back to the architectural plans I'd been working on. But the lines blurred, the measurements stopped making sense. After 10 minutes staring at the same corner, I pushed back from my desk. My name is Ethan Mitchell. I'm in his late 30s architect with my own firm in a major U.S. city. I design spaces where people build their lives, their dreams, their futures. Funny how I couldn't see my own falling apart until it already was. I stood and walked to the window of my home office. Outside, the major U.S. city skyline lit up against the darkening sky. Buildings I'd helped design stood there, structures meant to last decades, even centuries. Unlike my marriage, the signs had been there for months. Lauren's work dinners running later. New clothes, a changed passcode, the faint scent of someone else when she came home. I wasn't blind. I was choosing not to see. What kind of man ignores that? A weak one, my father would say. The kind who's afraid to face reality. Not anymore. I walked into our bedroom, a spacious master suite overlooking the lake, filled with Lauren's expensive taste. Her closet door was slightly open. Inside, rows of designer clothes, shoes worth more than some of my employees made in a month. I'd never minded before. Her ambition drew me to her. But now I wondered if anything I gave her was ever enough. In her dresser, I found the jewelry box I'd given her years ago. Inside were the pieces I knew, the diamond earrings, the sapphire pendant, the designer watch. But among them were new things I didn't recognize. A gold bracelet, emerald earrings. Not from me, from Craig. My stomach tightened. I closed the box and put it back exactly as it was. No outbursts, no breaking things. That's not who I am. My father, a steel worker who built himself up from nothing, taught me one thing. When you get hit, you don't fall apart. You plan your next move. So I did. I went to the kitchen, poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, Blanton's, the good stuff, and sat at our marble island. Lauren had pushed for that renovation last year. $20,000 for countertops. I joked each meal cost a little more. She didn't laugh. As I sipped my drink, I opened my laptop and pulled up our shared accounts. Credit cards first, 4 of them, all in both our names. I checked recent transactions, and there it was. A charge from 2 nights ago at the Peninsula Hotel. Room service for 2. Champagne. A spa charge the next morning. My hands stayed steady as I wrote everything down. I logged into our investments, savings, checking, took screenshots, tracked balances, saved every detail. Knowledge is power, and I needed every edge. By midnight, I contacted a lawyer, Michael Dawson, an old college friend who handled high-end divorces. I sent him everything and asked for a meeting first thing tomorrow. Only then did I let myself feel something. Not the rage or devastation you'd expect. More like a cold, crystal-clear calm. The way forward suddenly felt obvious, like a straight line through the wreckage. I slept in the guest room that night, not because I couldn't handle our bed without her, but because I was already preparing for the separation, easing into a new life. Morning came with harsh October light cutting through the blinds I'd left open. For one peaceful second, I forgot. Then my phone buzzed, and everything rushed back. It wasn't Lauren. It was Michael confirming our later that morning meeting. I showered, put on a dark gray tailored suit Lauren always said made me look distinguished, and headed downtown. Michael's office sat on the 38th floor of a glass tower on downtown. One I'd helped design early in my career. The receptionist led me straight to his corner office. "Evan," Michael said. standing to shake my hand. He looked almost the same as college, just sharper. Better clothes, a little gray in his hair. Wish this were under better circumstances. Me too, I said, sitting across from him. I reviewed everything you sent, he said, opening a leather folder. You've already done half my job. Most people come in emotional and unprepared. You gave me something solid. I'm an architect, I said with a dry smile. Foundations are kind of my thing. He nodded. Illinois divides assets fairly, not always equally. Based on what you've shown, we can argue for a split in your favor. What do I do now? Document everything. Secure assets, don't hide them. And if possible, gather proof of infidelity. It won't matter much legally, but it can shift negotiations. Guilt makes people settle faster. I want this clean, I said. No drama. Then you need to understand what Lauren wants, he said. Is it just Craig? Or your money too? That hit harder than I expected. I hadn't even considered that angle. I don't know, I admitted, but I will. He recommended a private investigator, Jason Brooks, a major U.S. City PD detective. He called him right there, and we set a meeting for later that day. As I got up to leave, Michael added, "Don't confront her yet. Right now, information is your edge. The second she knows you know, everything shifts." I nodded and stepped back out into the crisp, major U.S. city air. People rushed past, caught up in their own lives. I couldn't help but wonder how many of them were hiding something. How many marriages were quietly falling apart behind polite smiles. I checked my phone. Nothing from Lauren, not even a casual excuse. The silence said more than any lie. I texted her. * busy day at the office. Might work late. You? *. Her reply came fast. * client meetings all day. Dinner with the team tonight. * More lies. At least she was consistent. I put my phone away and grabbed a cab to a nearby neighborhood. Brooks' office was plain. No flashy signs, just a small nameplate. Brooks Investigations. Jason Brooks didn't look like some worn-out detective from a movie. He was early 50s, fit, with close-cropped salt and pepper hair and sharp, observant eyes. His clothes were simple, practical. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, shaking my hand firmly. "Please have a seat." His office was clean and modern. Desk, 2 comfortable chairs, a filing cabinet, and a wall covered in credentials and photos. In one, he wore a police uniform. In another, he was shaking hands with the mayor. I explained my situation as clearly as I could. Brooks jotted notes on a legal pad, asking a few questions but mostly just listening. "Michael says you're looking to confirm in situation. Maybe financial misconduct too?" he asked when I finished. "Yes," I said. "I need to understand what I'm dealing with, who Craig is to her, whether money's been moved without me knowing." He nodded. "A standard surveillance package covers 3 days, photos, observation, and a full report. I can also run background." "Daniel Cole," I said, "real estate developer, owns Doyle Properties." He wrote it down. "I'll check for anything suspicious, business ties, past patterns." "How soon can you start?" "Today. I'll need a photo of your wife, her schedule, car details, and a retainer." I gave him everything, including a recent photo of Lauren on my phone. Seeing her, perfect hair, bright eyes, that smile I used to trust, hit me harder than I expected. "One more thing," Brooks said as he walked me out. "This probably isn't the first time you've felt something was off. Trust that instinct. It's usually right." I nodded, throat tight. He was right. There had been so many small signs. Lauren pulling away, conversations cutting off when I walked in, the distance between us in bed. I told myself it was stress, her job, just the natural ebb and flow of marriage. I'd been wrong. The next 3 days felt unreal. I went through the motions, work, meetings, designs, but it all felt distant, like I was watching myself from the outside. I stayed late at the office to avoid running into Lauren. She didn't seem to notice. Our texts were short and practical, like strangers coordinating logistics. On Friday afternoon, Brooks called. I have some preliminary findings. Can you come in? 30 minutes later, I sat across from him as he opened a folder of photos and a report. Your wife has been meeting Daniel Cole regularly for at least a week, he said. At his penthouse. She arrives around 7 p.m. and leaves the next morning. He slid the photos over. Lauren entering a high-rise. Lauren and Craig at a restaurant, his hand on her back. The two of them on a terrace, drinking wine, laughing. The last photo made my jaw tighten. Lauren being close to him outside his building, pressed against him. There's more, Brooks said, calm and detached. I looked into the financial side. Doyle has made large cash withdrawals over the past 3 months. Your wife has also opened a separate personal account. He showed me the statements. Nearly a large sum of money deposited. Money we didn't have. Where did she get it? I asked, my voice steady despite everything. That's the problem, he said. It's coming from your home equity line. Small withdrawals, easy to miss, but they add up. The truth hit like a punch. She wasn't just cheating. She was taking from us. From me. There's one more thing, Brooks added, pulling out another document. Doyle's expanding internationally. Trips to London, Paris, Singapore. And your wife has been researching long-term visas. I didn't need him to spell it out. This wasn't just a relationship. It was her way out. A memory hit me out of nowhere, sharp and painful. Last Christmas, Lauren opening the jewelry box with the designer watch. The way she smiled, kissed me, whispered, "It's perfect." 2 weeks later, she'd been working late on our anniversary. Was she already with him then? Had this whole year been a lie? I must have shown something, because Brooks paused, his expression softening a bit. Do you need a minute, Mr. Mitchell? I shook my head, swallowing hard. No, please go on. He nodded, letting me keep it together. I've also found something about Mr. Doyle's business. He's under scrutiny from investors. Questionable property deals. Nothing illegal yet, but enough red flags to worry anyone tied to him. She doesn't know, I said quietly, the realization settling in. Lauren thinks she's chosen a rising star, but she's actually tied herself to a disaster. It appears that way, Brooks said. That could work in your favor. He gave me a second, then asked, what do you want to do with this? What did I want? Part of me wanted to confront her right now, watch her face when everything fell apart. Another part wanted to disappear, take the money and leave her guessing. But neither gave me what I really wanted, control. I need time, I said, gathering the documents. I'll talk to my lawyer. Brooks nodded. I'll keep monitoring things for another day. I'll call if anything changes. I left his office gripping the folder. My life falling apart, neatly organized. Outside, a major U.S. city buzzed around me. Cars honking, people talking, the train rumbling overhead, but it all felt distant. I walked without thinking, the folder tucked inside my jacket, until I reached the river. I stood there watching the water move. Buildings rose around me, solid, permanent. A city that burned down once and rebuilt itself. Maybe there was something in that. My phone buzzed. Lauren. Asterisk working late again. Don't wait up. Asterisk. Same lie, different day. I didn't reply. I called Michael instead. I've got everything, I said. How fast can we move? The weekend came with this quiet tension. Lauren got home late Friday, slipping into bed beside me without a word. I pretended to be asleep, keeping my breathing steady as she settled in, smelling like unfamiliar soap and a trace of Craig's cologne. Saturday, I woke up early, made coffee, read the news, waited. Lauren came out around 9, wrapped in her silk robe, a little surprised to see me. Morning, she said, pouring coffee. I thought you'd be at the office. Taking the day off, I said, watching her over my mug. Thought we could spend some time together. It's been a while. Something flickered across her face. Panic, maybe guilt, before she covered it with a practiced smile. That sounds nice, but I promised Sarah I'd help her shop for a dress. Her sister's wedding is coming up. Sarah. Her college friend in Milwaukee. Another lie. Maybe dinner then, I said. That place on a busy shopping street you wanted to try. She hesitated, already reaching for an excuse. Let me check with Sarah. We might be out late. No problem, I said easily. Just let me know. She nodded, relief showing in her shoulders as she disappeared into the bathroom. A moment later, the shower started. I let out a quiet, grim smile. Everything was moving exactly how I needed it to. While Lauren was getting ready, I went to my office and started the first step of Michael's plan. I logged into our joint accounts and transferred half the funds into new accounts under my name. Not everything would count as hiding assets, but it was enough to make sure Lauren couldn't drain them before things got legal. Next, I changed the passwords on our investment accounts and put security freezes on our joint credit cards. I didn't close them or cut her off. I just made it so any new charges needed verification. Then I called our home equity line provider and reported suspicious activity. They froze the account right away pending review. By the time Lauren came out, dressed sharp in designer jeans and a cashmere sweater, her blonde hair perfectly styled, I was back in the living room, acting like I was absorbed in a book. I'll probably be back late, she said, grabbing her purse. A new Chanel I didn't recognize. Don't wait up. Have fun with Sarah, I said evenly. Tell her I said hello. She paused for a second, like she caught something in my tone, then nodded and left. I watched from the window as she got into her Mercedes and drove off. Not north toward Milwaukee, but south toward an upscale district, toward Craig. The second she was gone, I moved. I'd rented a storage unit 2 days earlier. Today, I was filling it with everything that actually mattered. Family photos, my grandfather's watch, important papers, anything I couldn't afford to lose in what was coming. I worked through the afternoon, deciding what stayed and what went. Every item carried a memory, some of them now poisoned by what I knew about Lauren. Our honeymoon photo from Greece. The first blueprint I ever drew. The one she'd framed for my 30th. The rare Hemingway first edition she gave me one Christmas. Had she loved me then? Was any of it real? No answers. I packed it all anyway. My phone rang, snapping me out of it. Jason Brooks. Mr. Mitchell, he said. Thought you'd want to know. Your wife and Doyle just got to the Drake for lunch. They're meeting Jonathan and Melissa Richardson. The names meant nothing. Who are they? Jonathan Richardson sits on the board of First, a major U.S. City Trust. Major international investments, especially in Asia. Given Doyle's expansion plans, she's helping him make connections. I finished. Looks that way, Brooks said. After I hung up, I kept packing, but my mind wouldn't let it go. Lauren wasn't just being involved with Craig. She was helping build his business. How long had that been happening? How many of her client dinners were really about pushing his deals? This cut deeper. It wasn't just desire or emotion. It was strategy, partnership, a future they were building on top of my marriage. By evening, the storage unit held the bare bones of my life, the pieces I'd need to start over. I came back to a house that looked mostly the same, just quieter, emptier in ways Lauren wouldn't even notice. She hadn't really seen this place in months. I ordered takeout from our favorite Thai spot, ate alone at the kitchen island, and waited. Nothing. No message from her. No fake updates about Sarah. Around midnight, my phone finally buzzed. Asterisk staying at Sarah's tonight. Too much wine to drive. See you tomorrow. Asterisk. I stared at it, feeling a strange kind of calm settle in. Tomorrow, then, that's when everything would change. Sunday came bright and clear, one of those perfect a major U.S. City fall days before winter hits. I got up early, ran along the lake, showered, made breakfast. Normal Sunday routine for what was about to be anything but normal. I knew Lauren well enough to predict her moves. She'd come back mid-morning, say she was exhausted from her girls' weekend, then disappear into the bedroom, really just checking in with Craig while I stayed out of the way. At shortly after, right on time, I heard her key turn in the lock. I sat at the kitchen island with my coffee, a spread of documents laid out in front of me. "Morning," she called, dropping her purse on the table. She looked flawless, like always, perfect hair, designer sunglasses on her head. Only someone who really knew her would catch the faint puffiness under her eyes, hidden under expensive makeup. What a night. Sarah's friends are wild. I didn't answer. I just watched her move around the kitchen, pouring coffee. "You're quiet," she said, finally looking at me. Her eyes drifted to the papers. "Work stuff on a Sunday? You're such a workaholic." "Not work," I said calmly. "Divorce papers." Her mug stopped halfway to her lips. "What divorce papers?" "I already filed Friday," I said, sliding them toward her. "You've been served." She set the mug down too carefully. "Evan, what are you talking about? Is this a joke?" "About as funny as you being involved with Daniel Cole," I said evenly. "Or stealing from our home equity to fund your exit." All the color drained from her face. "I don't." I cut her off, placing the photos down. Her and Craig entering his building. Dinner. Kissing like she hadn't kissed me in years. "Don't lie to me," I said. "Not anymore." Her hand trembled as she picked them up. "You had me followed? You spied on me?" "That might have worked once. Not today." "Yes," I said. "Just like you lied, stole, and planned to leave." Her shock shifted into calculation. I could see it, her mind working, building a defense. "Evan," she said softly, slipping into that tone she used when she wanted something. "We can talk about this. Whatever you think happened, happened," I said. "And no, we can't talk about it in any way that matters. You made your choice when you decided vows and honesty didn't apply to you." "That's not fair," she snapped, real anger breaking through. "You don't know what I've been going through, how lonely I've been. You're never here." "Save it," I cut in. "For someone who doesn't know about the large sum of money or the visa applications." That stopped her cold. "How did you know? That you were planning to leave the country with Craig? That you've been preparing for months?" I shook my head. "I'm not an idiot, just slow to see what was right in front of me." Her composure finally cracked. Her shoulders dropped, and for the first time, she looked her age. "What do you want?" she asked. "To punish me?" "I want a divorce," I said. "Quick, fair, final. I want you out by the end of the week, and I want you to sign these." I pushed another document forward, Michael's statement, strengthening my case. "And if I don't?" she said, a little defiance creeping back. "Then we do it the hard way," I said. "I've got enough evidence of financial misconduct to make this very uncomfortable. For you and for Craig. I wonder how his investors would feel about his judgment." The silence hung heavy between us. She searched my face for any weakness, found none, then reached for the papers. "I need to read these," she said, "and talk to my lawyer." "Of course," I said. "You've got a couple of days. After that, my offer changes." She gathered the documents with shaking hands. "You've changed, Evan. I never thought you could be this cold." I looked her straight in the eyes. "You don't know who I am anymore, Lauren. That's the problem." She flinched like I'd hit her, then turned and walked stiffly toward our bedroom. I heard the door shut, then her muffled voice calling Craig, probably to tell him about this sudden turn in their plans. I stayed at the kitchen island, feeling the strange calm wash over me. The confrontation I'd been dreading was done. The next phase had started. Whatever happened now, I was going to face it on my terms, not hers. The next few days played out with the precision of a well-drawn blueprint. Lauren moved out on Wednesday, taking only her personal things. I'd made it clear that anything valuable would have to be worked out through our lawyers. That was another condition Michael had suggested to keep her from clearing out the house. She signed the financial misconduct statement, her signature sharp and angry across the page. Apparently Craig had convinced her that fighting would only make everything worse. On that point, at least, he was right. The divorce moved ahead faster than I expected. Lauren didn't fight any of it, too eager to be done and move on to her new life. By Thanksgiving, a little over a month after that text message changed everything, we had a settlement agreement. She kept her car, her personal property, and a cash payment far smaller than what she would have gotten if she hadn't been caught stealing. I kept the house, my business, and most of our investments. It was about as clean a break as you can get in a situation like that. Through all of it, I kept my composure. At work, I buried myself in new projects, impressing clients with my focus and fresh designs. I started working out more, lost the 10 pounds I'd put on during the last year of my marriage, and reconnected with friends I'd let drift away. From the outside, I looked like I was handling everything surprisingly well. Inside, though, it was a different story. Nights were the worst. Alone in a house still full of Lauren's ghost, I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, replaying our years together and searching for the exact moment it all started falling apart. Was it something I'd done? Something I'd missed? Had she ever really loved me? Or had I just been a stepping stone the whole time? The memories wouldn't leave me alone. Our first date at that little Italian place where we split a bottle of cheap Chianti and talked until the owner kicked us out at closing. The night I proposed on the Navy Pier Ferris wheel, almost dropping the ring box because my hands were shaking. Our wedding day, Lauren glowing in white, promising forever with tears in her eyes. Had she meant any of it back then? Or was I always just a convenient rung on the ladder to the life she really wanted? Sleep got harder and harder to find. Bourbon started showing up too often. Jason Brooks called now and then to check on me, which was an unexpected kindness from the guy I'd hired just to dig up evidence. During one of those calls, as December started covering a major U.S. city in its first snow, he mentioned something that caught my attention. Thought you might want to know. Doyle's company is hosting its annual holiday gala next weekend. Big event at the luxury hotel. Donors, investors, city officials, all of them. Why would I care about that? I asked, though I already knew. Just information, Brooks said lightly. What you do with it is your business. After we hung up, I sat in my dark living room with a drink in my hand, turning over the possibilities. Lauren would definitely be there on Craig's arm, playing the polished new girlfriend. They'd be celebrating, convinced they'd escaped with barely any damage. Just thinking about it made my stomach twist. I picked up my phone and called Michael. I need a favor, I said when he answered. Something that might not be strictly legal. There was a pause. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that last part. What do you need, Evan? Information on Daniel Cole's business practices. The kind that isn't public. I have contacts who might know things, Michael said carefully. But why stir this up now? You got a good settlement. It's over. Not for me, I said. Not until they understand what they've done. Another pause, longer this time. This isn't like you, Evan. Revenge isn't your style. People change, I said, staring into my glass. Sometimes overnight. Evan, give me a few days, but think hard about what you really want here. Revenge feels good for a second, but it doesn't fix anything. Clears throat. I don't want to fix anything, I said honestly. I want justice. Michael kept his word. 3 days later, a thick envelope showed up at my office by courier. Inside was a full dossier on Daniel Cole's business dealings, the kind of stuff that never makes it into reports or press releases. Shady land buys in developing areas. Shell companies hiding real ownership. Possible payoffs to city inspectors. And worst of all, evidence. Clears throat. That he'd been using insider info, probably through Lauren's PR connections, to guide his investments. Nothing outright criminal, maybe, but enough to make investors uneasy. Enough to hurt his reputation in a major U.S. city's tight business circle. Enough to shake the foundation of everything he'd built. I read it all twice, then called Brooks. I need one more job, I said. Something quiet, but very public. Interesting mix, he replied. What are you thinking? I laid out the plan. He didn't interrupt. Can be done, he said when I finished. But it won't be cheap. Money's not the problem, I said. Results are. 2 days later, I got an invitation to Daniel Cole Properties' annual holiday gala at the luxury hotel. Brooks had reach, apparently even into the event staff handling guest lists. Now all I had to do was prepare my gift. The ballroom sparkled with holiday decor. The city's elite drifted around in expensive clothes, sipping champagne, eating appetizers. I adjusted my tux, custom Tom Ford, Lauren's favorite, and took a glass from a passing server. I'd gotten in through a client on the board of one of Craig's charities. A generous donation landed me a seat near the front, close enough to watch, not close enough to stand out. For the first hour, I just observed. The networking, the laughter, the practiced smiles of people hiding things. A major U.S. city's power players all in one room, congratulating themselves. Craig showed up late, right on cue, to applause from his circle. And on his arm, wearing the red gown I'd bought her last Christmas, was Lauren. She looked satisfied, like someone who thought she'd won. They worked the room together, taking compliments, shaking hands. Craig played the polished businessman. Lauren, the devoted partner. Perfect image. I stayed on the edges, watching, waiting. The moment came during Craig's speech. He stood at the podium, thanking investors, laying out big plans, international growth, luxury developments, record expansion. And none of this would be possible without my incredible partner, he said, gesturing to Lauren. In business and in life, she showed me that the best opportunities come when you least expect them. The crowd clapped. Lauren smiled. I gave a small nod to the man I'd placed near the AV booth. The screen behind Craig, once showing his company logo, shifted. First image, Lauren entering the Peninsula Hotel with Craig. Clear date and time. Then documents, unauthorized withdrawals from my home equity line, marked in red. Then emails, messages between them, plans, intentions, their future, all legally obtained during the divorce. The room went dead quiet. Craig turned, saw the screen, and stopped mid-sentence. Lauren's smile vanished instantly. I stood, raising my glass in a quiet mock toast. To new opportunities, I said, my voice carrying across the silence. And to the real character of Daniel Cole and Lauren Mitchell, on full display. Then everything broke. Craig rushed toward the AV booth, yelling to shut it down. Lauren didn't move. She just sat there, frozen, her face drained, as the version of her life she'd built fell apart in front of everyone. Guests murmured as phones came out, capturing a moment that would fuel a major U.S. city business gossip for months. Security started toward me, but I was already heading for the exit. Finished. As I passed Lauren's table, we locked eyes. The hate in hers met the cold satisfaction in mine. Enjoy your new life, I said quietly, just for her. You earned it. Outside, the December air hit hard and bitter. I handed over my ticket, waited for my car, and breathed in the sharp cold, feeling awake for the first time in months. What I'd done was petty, maybe even cruel. Not the act of a better man. But I was done being better. Done turning the other cheek. Done watching everything I built get taken from me. Sometimes justice isn't about being right. It's about being seen. The fallout was exactly what I expected, and then some. Craig's investors, rattled by what came out about his judgment and ethics, started asking hard questions. Some pulled funding. City officials backed away, and projects that once moved fast suddenly stalled. Lauren found out fast that being known as the architect's wife who cheated didn't help her on the major U.S. city social scene. Her PR firm put her on administrative leave, a polite way of saying she was done. I heard it all secondhand through contacts. I didn't chase her downfall. I had my own life to rebuild. January brought new work, new challenges. I hired more staff, moved into sustainable design, something I'd always cared about but never fully chased. Lauren had pushed me toward bigger money instead. Now, without her, I could finally build the firm I actually wanted. I sold the house. Too many memories, too much space. Bought a loft in a converted warehouse near the river, industrial, minimal, nothing like her taste. I kept it simple, choosing comfort over status. Life found a rhythm. Work during the week, long runs by the lake on weekends, a few casual dates, dinners with friends who stayed through it all. I wasn't happy, not really, but I was moving forward. Then one night, late at night, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, I said carefully. Evan, Lauren's voice came through, thick, tears, alcohol, maybe both. I need to talk to you. I almost hung up. Should have. Instead I said, about what? Everything. It's all falling apart. Craig's investors are pulling out. His company's under investigation. He blames me, says I ruined him. That sounds like something you take up with him. He's gone, she said, words slurring now. London. Business trip. Left me here to deal with everything. Our assets are frozen. I can't access anything. Still not my problem. Please, she whispered. I've got nowhere else to go. No one left. Everyone's gone. The logical part of me said end the call. This was exactly the kind of mess I'd worked to cut out. But something deeper reacted to the desperation in her voice. What do you want, Lauren? Can we meet? Just talk. Please. I shouldn't have agreed. Every instinct pushed back. But maybe it was curiosity or some leftover need for closure. 1 hour. Tomorrow at noon. There's a cafe on Wabash, a downtown cafe. Public place. 30 minutes. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you, Evan. I hung up and sat in the dark of my new place, wondering what the hell I was doing. The cafe was packed at lunch the next day. I got there right at noon, picked a table with a clear view of both doors, ordered black coffee, and waited. Lauren walked in at 12:17. She looked like a shadow of who she used to be. Her hair, once perfect, just hung there, lifeless around her face. Her clothes were still expensive, but they hung off her like she'd dropped a lot of weight. The makeup didn't cover the dark circles under her eyes or the fresh lines around her mouth. She saw me and walked over, ignoring the looks from other people. Lauren Mitchell used to pull attention without trying, just on confidence and presence. Now it felt like she was shrinking from it. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sitting across from me. 15 minutes, I said, checking my watch. You've got 13 left. She flinched, then nodded. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. A server came by. Lauren ordered a latte, her hands shaking. You said you wanted to talk, I said once the server left. So talk. She took a breath. First, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. Doesn't change what I did. But I am. What I did to you was unforgivable. Is that why you called? Partly, she admitted. But I'm in trouble, Evan. Serious trouble. Financial trouble? Yes, but more than that. She leaned in, lowering her voice. Craig wasn't just cheating with me. He was using me. Using my PR connections to get inside information, development deals, property acquisitions, things that helped his company. I raised an eyebrow. And you're telling me this why? Because the SEC is investigating him. They've already questioned me twice. I didn't know what he was doing. I swear. But I introduced him to people, shared things I heard at work. And now you're worried you're involved. I finished. She nodded, miserable. My lawyer says I could be charged as an accessory. I don't even have money for legal fees. Everything I had was tied up with Craig, and now it's frozen. The server brought her latte. She held the mug but didn't drink. What do you want from me, Lauren? I asked. Money, a reference, forgiveness. I don't know, she whispered as a tear slid down. Maybe just someone who knew me before all this. Someone who remembers who I was. I felt something shift in me. Not sympathy, just recognition. She was finally facing consequences, same as I once had. I can't help you, I said. Not with money, not with any of it. That part of our lives is over. She started crying quietly. I know. I don't know what to do. Everything's gone. My job, my reputation, my future, Craig, all of it. That's what happens when you build on sand, I said, standing and leaving cash for my coffee. I learned that the hard way because of you. She looked up, eyes red and desperate. Do you hate me? That stopped me. Did I? No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I don't feel anything for you anymore. And that's the best thing you ever gave me. I walked out, leaving her quietly crying at the table. Outside, The weak winter sun reflected off the snow-covered buildings. I took a deep breath and felt lighter than I expected. Our story wasn't finished, but I wasn't trapped in it anymore. 2 days later, Jason Brooks called. "Thought you should know," he said. "Lauren tried calling Daniel Cole in London yesterday, over and over. He's blocked her, and she's been not doing well lately, according to her doorman." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Habit," he said. "I keep an eye on things that might circle back. Also, she showed up at your office this morning. Security didn't let her in, but she waited outside for almost 2 hours. That unsettled me more than I liked." "Did she seem stable?" "Hard to say," he said. "But desperate people usually don't make good decisions." After we hung up, I tried to focus on the building plans spread across my desk. A new community center in a struggling neighborhood, the kind of project I'd always wanted, but kept putting off for better-paying corporate work. Now it was my focus, my way of building something that actually mattered after everything that happened this past year. But Lauren kept forcing her way into my thoughts. The look in her eyes at the cafe, the desperation in her voice on the phone. I couldn't shake the question. Was I responsible for whatever she might do next? Had I pushed her too far, exposing her at the gala, tearing apart the life she tried to rebuild? Not my problem, I told myself. Not my responsibility. But even as I thought it, it didn't feel true. By evening, I was walking into the lobby of her new apartment building. It wasn't our lakefront home, but it was still decent. The doorman recognized me from Brooks' description. "Mr. Mitchell," he said with a nod. "Miss Mitchell isn't in. Left about an hour ago." "Did she say where?" "No, sir. But she seemed upset. Been like that for days." I thanked him and stepped back outside, unsure where to go next. Where would she even be? Most of her friends had cut her off. A bar, maybe, but a major U.S. city had too many to guess. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Probably Lauren, using another phone since I'd blocked her. Asterisk, "I need to see you. Please. I'm outside your office." Asterisk. It was almost 6:30. The office would be nearly empty. I could have ignored it, gone home, stuck to the life I'd carefully rebuilt. Instead, I flagged down a cab and headed to the Loop. By the time I got there, it was raining. A cold January downpour, turning the sidewalks slick with ice. I paid the driver and stepped out, scanning the street. There she was, standing under the building's overhang, barely protected, already soaked through. No coat, just a thin sweater, arms wrapped tight around herself, shaking from the cold. Her hair clung to her face, makeup smeared. Rain, tears, maybe both. She didn't see me coming, just stared at the entrance like she was willing it to open. "Lorne," I called over the rain. "What are you doing here?" She turned, and her face shifted. From empty despair to sudden, desperate hope. "Evan, you came." She stepped toward me, unsteady. "I didn't think you would." "Why are you here?" I said again, not moving. "What do you want?" "To explain," she said, her voice cracking. "To make you understand what you've done, what we've done." "There's nothing left to say," I replied. "There's everything left," she shot back, taking another shaky step. "You don't know the whole story. About me, about Craig, about why I did any of it. It doesn't matter anymore." "It does," she snapped, her voice rising. "You think you know everything. Think you've got it all figured out. Perfect Evan and his perfect revenge. But you don't know what I've been through, what I'm still dealing with." People were starting to stare, even in the rain. She was shaking hard now, cold, anger, maybe both. "Lauren, go home," I said, keeping my voice steady. "You're not okay." "Home?" She laughed, sharp and hollow. "I don't have a home anymore. I don't have anything. You made sure of that." "You made your choices," I said. "I just made sure there were consequences." "Consequences?" She moved closer again, steps uneven. "That's what you call ruining someone's life? That's what you—" She stopped mid-sentence, eyes locking on something behind me. Her whole body tensed. "Is that him?" she said, pointing past me. Is that Craig? I turned instinctively. There was no one there, just people hurrying through the rain. When I looked back, she was already moving, rushing past me toward the street, focused on something I couldn't see. Lauren, wait, I called, a sudden edge of alarm cutting through me. There was no one there, but she was past hearing, past reason. She ran into the street, blind to the traffic, the rain, everything except the phantom she thought she was chasing. The taxi came around the corner, moving faster than it should have on the wet road. The driver saw Lauren too late, the brakes screaming against the slick pavement. I watched in horrified slow motion, Lauren turning at the sound, recognition spreading across her face, her body locked in the headlights. The impact was sudden and severe, throwing her against the taxi's windshield before she collapsed onto the pavement. Someone screamed, maybe a witness, maybe the driver as he jumped out of the car. I stayed frozen on the sidewalk, unable to move, to think, to make sense of what I'd just seen. Lauren lay still in the street. Rain washing over her, she collapsed on the pavement. People rushed in to help. Passers-by, the taxi driver, someone yelling for an ambulance. They knelt beside her, checking for signs of life, trying to give first aid. Their voices sounded far away, like I was hearing them underwater. I should go to her. I should help. I should do something. But I couldn't move. Couldn't make myself walk toward the woman I had once loved, now broken on the pavement. The woman whose destruction I had planned so carefully, so completely. Had this been my real goal all along? Not just to punish Lauren, but to break her. To stand there and watch as everything she cared about was taken from her piece by piece, until nothing was left but a desperate, not thinking clearly woman running into traffic after ghosts. A paramedic touched my arm and asked if I knew the victim. I nodded without speaking, gave them Lauren's name, her age, and watched as they lifted her still body into the ambulance. No one asked me to go with her. No one recognized me as the husband, the ex-husband, who should have been falling apart, demanding answers, insisting on riding along. I was just another witness to a tragedy. Anonymous, separate, alone. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing, I turned and walked the other way. Rain soaked through my clothes, but I hardly felt it. My mind was empty, my emotions shut off, my body moving on autopilot. I'd won. I had destroyed Lauren the same way she destroyed me. I had taken everything from her, her reputation, her security, her future, maybe even her life, and victory had never felt so bitter.